Hello,
That
everyone.
was cool.
That was cool. StreamYard has a bunch of new settings, and we're playing around with it. Sorry we're late, everyone. A family drama on my end. Just
Oh,
as you can
no.
tell, I have no desk right now. We're in the process of building my next one in here and just getting the space all revamped. So it's been just hectic trying to move stuff around, unscrew things, screw things, bolt things, unbolt things. But I'm here, and I'm here with my buddy Zach.
What
Here
up?
to talk about Big Brother and Survivor. How's it going, man? I know you had to dip out early last time, but how are you feeling now? Like 2 weeks removed from the big TK blindside. Now a week removed from poor Asia Welch being the first person eliminated from her tribe. Here,
Yeah,
for
listen.
a
I mean,
second.
look, it's we were promised no solid power dynamics, and that's certainly what we're getting. I apologize to the viewers at home for the absolute trash that is my voice currently. The seasons change, and therefore my body says you suck. Um, I mean, all in all, still a good season of Survivor. I hate to see Asia go, but it is very exciting to see not just like your typical like bulldoze of one power alliance that bulldozes the way. It's cool to see people playing so hard right out the gate. Makes me a little nervous for some people that they're playing so hard right out the gate. However, I am excited to see. I mean, the preview for this next week really doesn't tell us anything.
So yeah. Sue. We think she's actually bleeding, or do we think this is a early? Remember season 42, the first challenge where they had to like rub fake blood on each other, like Hi and who was it? Hi, Lindsay and Drea, I think.
No, I don't remember that. But
Okay,
I
well,
think it might even just be like she cut herself, and like there's like
there
little
was so
small.
much blood though, man, in that shot. There was so much.
Uh,
I'm wondering if it's like you in order to get this idol, you have to like make up a story that you like
that would be
fought,
interesting.
fought an
How would
animal.
she get the blood? I just,
Yeah,
God.
maybe it's like Survivor hands her a box, and it's like here's a box of blood. Figure out what to do with it, a bucket of blood, if you will. So I don't know. Not looking
Yeah.
too far in the preview though. Let's talk about this episode that happened. Obviously, the Red Tribe is where Asia went home, and we saw this kind of 2-2-2 split. It was Saul and Asia, it was Teeny and Keyshawn, and it was Genevieve and Rome. Genevieve and Rome, I guess, are a tighter duo than we expected. Originally, Asia said, "Let's split the votes," like we all thought we would. Like, let's put 2 on Genevieve and 2 on
Right.
Rome, and
Just do
if
the
Rome
thing
plays
that
the
we think we're
right.
gonna do.
And if Rome plays the idol, then Genevieve goes home. But they, of course, complicated things because Rome not only had an idol, but he also had to steal a vote. So Teeny and Keyshawn got paranoid, essentially, and decided, let's join Rome and Genevieve and vote for Saul or Asia. Let's see if Asia will be on board with voting Saul. And if not, then we go for Asia. And Asia was not on board with getting out Saul. Asia was gung-ho on Genevieve. I think Asia's thinking is correct. As we've been saying with the power rankings, like you split the votes on Rome and Genevieve. I think the thinking was correct. What I think Asia's big blunder was of course then not being willing to vote out Saul, which I guess
Yeah.
makes sense. I mean, that's your tightest number. But where do you think this went wrong? Do you think Asia? I mean, obviously she's in the wrong because she went home. But do you think this was a mistake on Teeny and Keyshawn to keep Rome and Genevieve together in the game as a duo, or do you think it was a smart move to team up with Rome and Genevieve because Rome is easier to read because he's
Yeah, I
all
mean,
over the place? How do you feel about this move? Like, who do you think is to blame? Who do you think it benefits
I
from this?
think the people who benefit the most are honestly Teeny and Keyshawn, mainly
Mm.
because listen, I think that Asia's biggest blunder is when you're so unwilling to turn on an ally this early in the game, especially when you have people kind of coming to you and being like, "Hey, listen, we can split the vote, but like people are going to be more willing to lose Saul." And you've got two people who are essentially saying like, "We're going to work with you. You just might have to split the vote on someone you don't want to split it on." To not split the vote this early and to kind of show your cards, I mean, it now frees up Saul, who is probably from their point of view at this point not as strong of a player, even if he's a stronger competitor right now. That's not important if they lose a challenge.
If they're going for TK and now Saul is the next on the outs, and then on blue, Kyle and Tiana are on the outs. I mean, that shows they don't care about strength this season, which is cool. It's a cool dynamic. We're not used to seeing that,
Well, and it doesn't really matter if you're getting rid of challengers when you're going to tribal anyway, because everybody has enough challenge merit. So getting rid of Saul wouldn't have hurt them as much as I think they think it would, or as much as Asia thought it would. I think her biggest blunder is that she's unwilling to be flexible. And in the beginning part of Survivor, I mean, like, that's the name of the game, right? Is like making sure that you can adapt and making sure you're with the right people. In terms of keeping Rome over Asia, I mean, I think that Keyshawn and Teeny picked the right person, because Saul's not going to be pissed at them right now. Saul's going to be pissed at, he hates Rome.
Right, true.
He hates Rome. By the way, Rome, when you watch this, what are you doing? I don't understand your game, dude. I don't get it yet.
But here's the thing, it worked. I mean, he literally said, he was up front. He said, "I have an idol, I have a steal a vote," and it got them to vote with him. So I think in a way, and there's a reason Genevieve has to be close with him. I just think the problem is we're not seeing it. We're seeing the edit of Rome being the Bruce on the island, which is why I think he's going to have a downfall eventually. Like, I do think the edit is not doing him a favor. I think if he is our winner, the edit would have made him more positive in this light. But
Rome, I love you. I can't wait for you to watch this. I just need to know why. Like, I need to know what your thought process is.
So for anyone who doesn't watch, Rome does watch our podcast, which is crazy. It's awesome.
We can be friends after this, dude.
Yeah,
I'm sorry for anything I say. I'm
so
from a
if Rome pops in the chat, we'll bring him on the live chat on the screen. But he listened to the past 2 episodes, so thank you, Rome. But yeah, it's a very puzzling gameplay. I mean, what did you think about the fish? Would you have shared the fish if you're the only one who caught it? Or would you, because it seems like he gave 2 fish to the rest of the tribe and he took like 4 for himself. Carly says Rome is chaos and I love it. She says she also,
I don't know, man. I don't know what I would have done. I just think that Rome on the whole is just like, here's the thing about Survivor, right? You can lie a lot. You can lie a lot in Survivor. The problem is if you lie too much and you don't have your stories perfectly aligned, you're gonna get caught. And when you get caught is when people start turning on you. And like, the thing is, Rome has easily made himself more of a target than Genevieve, which, like, Genevieve is not like someone to like be afraid of, I think, at this point in the game, especially considering she's been invisible. But now the problem is, how is Rome going to go to Teeny and Keyshawn and be like, oh, Genevieve's a bigger threat? Because there's just no way, right? And especially if so they've got the option between sticking with Rome, who has lied, maybe not like directly, like for his own benefit.
Yeah, he's been very truthful about what he has and stuff, but he just comes across very shady. It's not that he's lying, because he doesn't seem trustworthy. I agree with that.
And he also, at the end of the day, the biggest thing is, like, he's not just lying to like his tribe. He's lying to everyone. Like, he's going on these, he's like having these interactions. It's just not setting himself up well for an end game scenario. So even if he does make it past this week, Rome, I can't wait for the season to be over so you can tell me what the fuck you're doing. That's what I'm excited about. I just don't know if I think Teeny and Keyshawn made the right call getting rid of Asia over Rome, because at the end of the day, it's going to make their lives a lot easier in the next phase of whatever happens. But it's also, I think the problem could be that it might backfire at the fact that, like, now if they swap, Keyshawn and Teeny are the duo, and you don't have Asia and Saul, and you likely won't have Rome and Genevieve for much longer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a few things on that. Yeah, I think Rome, the interesting thing is, I don't even think the vote was between Rome and Asia. Rome got a vote, but I think it was just because the original plan was to split the votes with Rome and Genevieve. I don't think Rome was ever going home, because he was going to play that idol no matter what. It was the one idol. And Teeny and Keyshawn knew that. So I honestly think that is his best strength, is just being as upfront with the advantages as you can to the people who you do genuinely trust. And I think now going forward, the fact that, okay, he played the one-time idol, and it was a one-time idol, and he has a steal a vote. Like, he's been up front. I think if you're Teeny and Keyshawn, I think you do lean into that. I think you say, you know what, Saul, I like you, but maybe we got to clip you, or there's a way they get one on Genevieve. The problem is, though, this is why I think they should have gone after Genevieve instead of Asia. Now, with Rome steal a vote, with 5 people, Rome steals Saul's vote. Now Rome, Genevieve, and Rome and Genevieve have 3 votes to Teeny and Keyshawn's 2. No matter what, Rome and Genevieve are pretty much safe unless Saul, Keyshawn, or Teeny find an idol. So I think that's where Rome actually using his steal a vote as bargaining actually worked. And I think, honestly, the biggest mistake for Teeny and Keyshawn is not voting out Asia, because I think getting out Asia was smart, because in the long haul, she could have been someone who's going to pick Saul over you. But in the short term, now you're leaving in Genevieve and Rome together with a steal a vote. That's 3 guaranteed votes against your minority. If you want to rope in Saul, even if you don't want to rope in Saul, it doesn't matter, because they still have 3 votes. That's the majority of the tribe. So now they got to hope either they vote with them and that it's just the easy Saul boot, or they find an idol to combat it, or somehow Rome uses the steal a vote and they somehow get it out Genevieve anyway. I think the biggest thing was that Saul and Asia are a couple that wants to work with you. Rome and Genevieve are also a couple that wants to work with you, but Rome and Genevieve want to work with each other first and foremost. And I feel like Saul and Asia were looking at the 4 rather than the 2.
Yes.
Whereas I think, and Asia didn't want to get rid of Saul. I get that. That is a duo, but I do think Genevieve and Rome is the scarier duo with that steal a vote. I think if you get out Genevieve now, then Rome next week, he can steal a vote, but you still have 3 votes on his too.
Right.
So I think now it's like, now he has the advantage of votes. So I don't know. I think Rome, he's still playing in a way it's tough because he's so all over the place. But honestly, I think with all his advantages, it's just simply, I think the advantages are playing a good game. I think the fact that he just has stuff is helping him.
Right.
Whereas I don't know if it's necessarily him actively doing it, but I don't know. I think this could backfire on Teeny and Keyshawn. I don't think either of them are going home next, but I worry in the long haul. I worry that keeping Rome and Genevieve together is going to be more dangerous than keeping.
Yeah, I can see that.
Keeping Asia. Let's look at Blue real quick. So Kyle is out on the votes. And Gabe immediately goes to him and says, "Hey, by the way, I know we were on the wrong side of the votes, but I want you around here, man. I want to go for Tiana next." Which I said in the Power Rankings. I don't know if you listened back when I was talking to Austin Ingrid. That's what I thought would happen. I thought that Tiana would, because she was showing that she was willing to flip on TK, Gabe was going to try to get her out next. The problem is Kyle goes to Tiana and goes to Sue and goes to Caroline and says, "Yo, Gabe, he's coming after you, and he's calling you 2 goats that he wants to bring to the end." First off, big blunder. You never tell 2 people that you want to get rid of this guy who wants to take them to the end, because all Sue and Caroline are hearing is, "Oh, Gabe wants to take us to the end? Great, cool, fine." And then you go to the journey, you lose your vote, and I get it. You don't want to lose 2 votes, but at this point, if you've already lost a vote and you're on the outs, you can't go any worse than that. Risk it again, try to get an advantage, but then he walks away. So now he lost his vote, can't even go for another advantage, and he's going back to camp where Sue hates him. Yeah. Sue, Caroline, and Gabe are still close. And yes, Gabe wants Tiana gone, but if Sue and Caroline want Kyle gone over Tiana,
he's gonna vote for Kyle over Tiana any day of the week.
Yeah, I think Gabe would listen to Sue and Caroline. I think Kyle. The problem is they focus so much on him this episode and in such a positive light, but his gameplay was so bad. So I'm really wondering, is this one of those like set him big up now because he's going to be out next? Or is this like a redemption arc? Like, okay, we're going to put him on the bottom and he's going to rise from the ashes. Like, what do you think about this Kyle thing? Because that's really the only storyline we got on Blue. We didn't even hear Tiana speak. She got 0 confessionals.
I mean, I think what it really does is it sets him up kind of like you said, like there's one of those, there's a world where it just sets him up to be like the immediate boot next episode. But, excuse me, if we're looking at like a swap soon, it sets him up to be a little bit more of like a sneakier player, or not sneaky player, but like a sneaky threat to Sue, Caroline, and Gabe at like their game as a whole. Because again, it would be very easy for the 3 of them once they got to a swap, especially like if they swap, Gabe swaps away from Caroline and Sue, and it's Kyle and Gabe on a tribe. Gabe is thinking like, hey, I'm good. I got Kyle in my corner, and Kyle is like, "Oh, hell no. Hey, I'm just gonna use like names off hey, Sam, Teeny, and Andy. Gabe already has his final 3 picked out."
Yeah.
And they go, "Oh." And then Kyle goes, "By the way, he also found an idol." And everyone goes, "Oh." Goodbye, Gabe. Like, I think it depends on the next couple of episodes. If we see them go to tribal this next episode, I don't think it's good. I mean,
he doesn't have a vote. He would need an idol. Like, I think at this point, if Kyle finds an idol, that's cool. But at this point, he needs an idol.
What I mean more is if they go to, like, if Blue goes to tribal this next episode tomorrow, then I mean, like, it's a done deal. It would set him up to basically.
And here's the thing. I think in theory it could have worked. All he has to do is say, "Okay, Gabe," and go for the Tiana move. Because now you're looking at, okay, if Gabe has a strong 3 and he's telling you this and he wants you to work with him, easy, jump ship, get out Tiana. It sucks because you like Tiana. Right. I think the problem is he's so loyal. Because now what happens is Tiana, Sue, and Caroline hear this. They're going to go to Gabe about it. So now Gabe is not going to want to work with Kyle. Even if they swap, Gabe's going to be like, "Well, Kyle tried to rat me out." I really don't know who Kyle has right now. Even Tiana, I think, would jump on Kyle. I mean, she jumped ship on TK. Like, I really don't know who Kyle has right now. The only benefit would be that Gabe still did mention wanting Tiana out. And if that still is in his mind, I see a world where they make something happen. But I think Sue is really gunning for Kyle. And I think this is one of those like Gabler Ellie things where, not saying Sue is going to win the game, but when you're so laser focused on getting one person out, it's gonna eventually happen. Kyle's not laser focused on Sue, but Sue's laser focused on Kyle.
Right.
And I think it's funny with the swap. Yeah, Carly mentions all three tribes have gone to tribal now. This is the first time ever where in a 3-tribe format, tribe after tribe after tribe has gone to tribal. So we really don't know who's going to go to tribal because there's no weak team. Now the team that we thought was weakest because of the meltdown was Andy's team, but it looks like Andy is actually on the up and up. It looks like he's making friends. He gave Sierra his shot in the dark as a form of trust. And we see, so there's two exciting things I want to talk about. Sam versus Annika. Obviously, they're
So
butting
funny.
heads. They're butting
So
heads.
good.
And Sam very clearly wants Andy and Sierra to join him in voting out Annika next. But the thing is, Annika goes to the journey, and everyone's saying, Sam and Sierra, they got a thing. And Annika comes back and is like, listen, all the other tribes think you're dating. And Sam's like, I have a fiance. She's got a boyfriend. Like, this is not a thing.
Right.
But do you think that this threat from the other tribes, do we think Sierra is going to be as locked in on Sam now? Because I think that confessional afterwards was very telling that Sierra, I think, is going to be the one to turn on Sam. When we were talking earlier, we were like, I don't know if this Sam Sierra dynamic, it's going to be like that really like Jesse Cody like thing. But I'm really wondering, is there a world, especially because we know Sam's playing the idol for Andy if he goes to tribal, is there a world where he plays the idol for Andy and all three of the girls vote out Sam? Are we looking at that as a potential? When he was the safest guy on both our lists, like 2 weeks in a row, like I'm worried because that whole like showmance rumor, I think Sam's like whatever, but Sierra's got the red flags up. I'm very interested in this dynamic, and this is where I could really see a power.
I don't know.
Shift,
I mean, like that's my thing. I honestly, I'd have to go back and I'd have to watch that specific DR again, just to have like a formulated full opinion. You want the downfall of Sam. You want it. You want it so bad.
Of anyone on yellow, I think I like Annika the most, but I'm rooting for Sam. I think he's got such a great mind for the game. I love his whole like I'm the glue guy mentality, and I like how he wanted to scoop up Andy off the bottom. I love all that. The only thing is this whole showmance rumor, I keep thinking about Jeff saying that the tribe dynamics keep shifting, and it makes me wonder, like, look at Asia. We all had our...
Oh, you're right.
I'm gonna pull up our graphic real quick. I'm sorry to do this to you, Zach, but I do think it's worth looking at.
I don't want to see it.
Zach had her at 2. I had her at 7. That's high. She was my third highest safe player on red. Zach's second. And I do think it's very telling that these power shifts have happened. I could see a world where Sierra gets so freaked out by this couple thing that she's like, all right, I got to cut Sam off. Because if she goes to the merge with Sam now, people are going to immediately look at them as a duo. And that's what you don't want.
My thing is, like, I don't know, right? I think that there is a world where she turns on him. I think there's a world where she sees the merit in, like, having someone so strong as like, and people seeing them as a duo, because also what merit can it have once you find out, hey, listen, like, there's nothing going on. He's got a fiance. I've got a boyfriend. Like, I don't know. It really, I think the thing about their confessionals, and if this is, even if this season is anything to prove it, their confessionals are great, but I think confessionals can sometimes be misleading because we're getting an immediate thought at that point in time, rather than a thought from like weeks later in the game. Yeah. So yeah, I think that there could be merit to her probably turning on Sam. But the thing is, if you look at that tribe and you see, Sam said that he would play his idol on Andy. I think at a certain point that, he said that a whole episode ago, now 2 whole episodes ago. Andy is clearly not the issue that he once was. He has sort of moved his way back up the ladder. Yeah. I still think that he has more merit. I'm going to be honest. I think the Yellow Tribe is actually probably fine.
I really like the Yellow Tribe. I don't want any of the 5 of them to
go.
Like, and there's people on blue and red I wouldn't mind seeing go, but like yellow, I like all 5 of them a lot.
Especially because here's my thing, right, is that I do think there's probably a world. I know you don't want to hear it. I'm going to tell you right now, she's low in my ranking. I do think there's a world where Annika goes home pretty much next.
Oh, she's the obvious boot right now. It's just I'm thinking like long term, like, is it that easy?
And again, I think Dylan and I are from the org world. I think and these things happen right where you like start thinking about a swap. If they swap, things are different, right? Like if Sam is by himself and they have nothing to go off of. He's idoless at a certain if he's idoless when they swap. Because he uses it at a next tribal or something like that, then absolutely, I think he's a sitting duck. Especially if they're not willing to hear him out. But, like if Sam swaps with like, if Sam swaps with Andy, I think he's actually probably fine because Andy will go to bat and be like, no, Sam's a good guy. Like Sam, Andy gets, let's say, like Sam, Andy, and Gabe swap. Like I can see that three being like a stupid, annoying trio, but like very powerful, very manipulative, very over the top in terms of like their power dynamic, and they probably crumble a couple episodes later. But I think it all really just depends. I mean, as far as this episode goes, like I think that there is a world where where Sierra turns on Sam. I mean, we saw the same thing in 41 when Leanna turned on Xander like that. They were this. They were this when that season started. And the minute that they were away from one another, Leanna found Shan, she found Ricard, and she said, I'm locked in with you. And it backfired. So I think it really just depends on what happens next. That's what's so hard. There's a world where she does, there's a world where she doesn't. But that's true of a lot of it. I'm going to talk about my girl Teeny for a second because Teeny makes me nervous because I think Teeny's playing a pretty good game. But the fact that she has a vote this early in the game is a little nerve-wracking because what that tells me is that she's not as she got a vote from Saul.
No, so Saul voted for Rome. So Saul and Asia,
a little bit of time, so I went back and looked.
I
looked on the wiki to like reaffirm my choices.
So Saul and Asia split the vote. So Saul and Asia went with the original plan to split the vote on Genevieve and Rome. Asia went Genevieve, Saul went Rome. Teeny and Keyshawn were theoretically supposed to also go Rome and Genevieve.
Let me fix that.
I got
Let me fix that. Teeny having a vote, kind of like a rogue vote sort of situation, especially this early in the game. First of all, when all you really needed to do was make like a solid decision to vote on one person because she probably doesn't have anything.
She threw a rogue vote. I see what you mean. I thought you meant she got a vote. I was like, no, no one's voted for her.
Sorry.
Yeah. So she voted. So she voted for Saul, which I think is very interesting. Well, yeah. I like where you're going with this. Yeah, keep going because
I think
I was very puzzled by this.
That's risky, especially when you can just dogpile on one person. It's just not the one with the idol. At the very least,
and she's not going to jury too, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
I think she was trying to save face with Asia because she likes Asia because she's a fan of Rob House podcast, and I think I do agree. I think that was a mistake because now Saul's going to be like,
"Who voted for me?" Well, he's going to be like, "Who voted for me?" And what I will be interested to see is how she plays it off because you could throw a rogue vote and do it successfully. It's probably the best move you can do early on in the game is throw a rogue vote and pin it on someone else. Like pinning it on Asia or pinning it on like
it was like D with Sifu. So D voted for Sifu when Sean quit and then pinned it on J Maya. And J Maya said, yeah, fine. J Maya didn't do it. And J Maya was like, yeah, sure. Just because D was that good. Yeah.
That's the thing, right? Like if Teeny plays it off right, but it makes me nervous because Teeny and Keyshawn are at such a good position in the game right now. I mean, they're not on Rome and Genevieve's radar. Up until this very moment, they shouldn't have been on Saul and Asia's radar. And then you don't have to worry about pretty much anything else. Am I missing a red?
Genevieve, Rome.
Genevieve. Sorry. Genevieve. I keep forgetting she's there, man.
Genevieve, Rome, Keyshawn, Teeny, and Saul, the 5. Yeah.
But you don't have to ruffle literally any feathers. So to ruffle feathers, I mean, listen, even cluing Saul into like the plan would have been a better move, I think, outright. But if she's planning to use it as some sort of like, hey, listen, Rome and Genevieve split. Rome voted for Asia. He was all about it, but he made Genevieve vote for you. And then she's able to make them do this and it implodes. I mean, like, that would be cool. So I think
the type of person to be able to do it, if anyone.
I don't know. She's the only one who can do it, though, right? Like, that's she's literally the only person in this game, I think, who could successfully do that right now.
And another blunder with Keyshawn, which we haven't talked about, is saying core 4 at tribal. He goes, I think if the core 4 sticks together, but then he's like, I won't say who it is, Jeff. But the problem is now that they got blindsided, Saul's going to be like, oh, so I wasn't in the core 4, but you were also saying that. Like, I think it was a bad move to even hint that because now
that's what we knew Keyshawn would do.
Well, because here's the thing: if Rome and Genevieve are like, "Hey, I thought Keyshawn and Teeny were on board to get rid of Saul and Asia," what do you mean core 4? If they know that, if Saul knows that if Asia knows that they were trying to flip her on Saul, then Asia and Saul automatically know they're not the core 4. Then if they're trying to get rid of Saul, it was just such a I don't know. I don't like that comment at all because it's like. I get what he was trying
A
to do.
poor
He's trying
choice
to
of
get
words.
meta, but
A
yeah,
poor
yeah,
choice of words when literally all you need to do is just keep it nice and
yeah.
general. I think
Um,
tribal is the worst place in the world for some people because
yeah.
all you have to do is keep it general, and the
And
more
he just
specific
needed
you
to
get,
not talk at all. Yeah, that's the problem. And then Asia, I get the whole like, if you told me who you're voting for, like, let's keep to the plan. Like, I think Asia realized her back was against
that's
the wall.
very different though.
I didn't mind that, but yeah, Keyshawn made that blunder. Let's get into our rankings just because I do want to just talk about these players a little bit more in depth. But I do want to bring it up one more time. I got
Oh, God.
7 points. Zach got 2, so I've taken a 9-point lead, but anything can happen, especially this season with all the power shifts. And then yours was also kind of who you wanted on your fantasy team too. Like we even kind of took that into account. We're like, does he really think Rome's going next, even if he has an idol good for one tribal? We were like, you know what, he probably just doesn't want him on his fantasy team. Like that's kind of how we assumed.
Yeah, that was
Because
really more in the
no, it's
line of
okay.
what it was.
Yeah, yeah. But let's look at the fantasy real quick because we do have an update. Zach and Ingrid are trailing 48-41. Austin and I tied at the top 49. But again, it's so early. We're playing the
I
long
am
game.
playing the
Yeah.
long game.
Yeah, and Ingrid takes her first hit. Asia actually went into the week with 9 points. She actually lost a point. So Ingrid has 1 point less than she would have had. But looking at everyone's teams, I mean, you're looking solid. I mean, Sue, Andy, and Teeny all seem in good positions, and now Genevieve seems in a good position. I don't think any of them are in danger this week. And then Ingrid, she's got one guy who's on the outs, but 2 other people who are well ingrained. And then I think Austin now has Saul and Tiana who are brought up as targets. I have Rome and Annika who are targets. So I do think there's room to
You
shift
think there's
around.
room?
But Zach, who is going to be your safest this week? We have 15 spots. I'll be honest, I wrote mine out and then I lost them, so I'm going to be kind of trying
That's
to
fine.
remember them in my head. But I don't even know if I have a good pen for this. I might just have to put it on my phone. But
That's
go
okay.
ahead. I have a Sharpie.
I mean, I've got Sam up at the top. He theoretically should be the safest individual in the game right now, right? He's a great competitor. He has an idol. He's
It's
well
only good for
integrated.
one tribal too, so he has to play it.
He
Next
has
time
to play it. So he is well integrated in regards to what's going on. I mean, I think Annika is the clear choice to send home, and I don't think anyone's going to turn on him, especially considering the fact that everybody knows he has an idol pretty much. So it's not like it would be stupid of him to not play it, and it would be stupid of anyone to try and do any sort of move that involved trying to get rid of him because he just plays the idol on himself. The only way that I can see Sam kind of being in a dangerous situation where this number 1 spot is kind of not great is if they try to fool him and he buys into it, right? If they try to tell him like, hey, Sierra goes up and is like, use it on Andy, where they're going to get rid of Andy, right? I can see her doing that. But I think at this point in the game, it's a little ridiculous to try and do that, especially because there's still so much game left. And to put a move like that on Sierra so early, for her to do that to herself, I mean, you basically say like, hey, listen, I'm a bigger threat than you think I am. And I think that I think it's just still a little too early to do. I even thought the Asia thing was like a little too much in the beginning, but hands were kind of forced in the fact that like we'd all pick Rome or Genevieve, but he's got the idol. So like we're just going to cut our losses and we're going to get rid of Asia now.
Yeah, it's interesting because I have Sam lower just because of that fear of like, if they're going into a merge situation, do they want to risk having a couple? Like, is Sierra really going to want to risk the target of having Sam with her? But I do agree. I think they're the strongest tribe, so I think they're least likely to go to tribal. And I just think they're, I agree with you. I think even if they were to go, I still think this is not the week they get out Sam. But I think this is the opportunity if they wanted to get out Sam to get out Sam because Sam's going to play his idol on Andy. So Sam's going to be wide open. All the 3 girls can put their votes on Sam. It is the easiest time to get rid of Sam. But do you want to do it this early? I agree. But I don't have him at number 1. I have someone on blue at number 1. I've come full circle here.
Crazy, dude.
Because
say it's Caroline.
Well, Kyle's targeting Sue. Sue's targeting Kyle. Gabe's targeting Tiana. We don't know who's targeting Gabe, but Gabe played an idol. Who is no one looking at?
Caroline, baby.
Who's no one looking at? It's Caroline.
Caroline, baby.
I think she is on one of the better tribes. I mean, it's hard to say who the best tribe is at this point. I think right now, I mean, I would have said blue's weakest because they got rid of TK, but then they won over yellow, and I think yellow's or red, who has Saul, who's big, but also big and strong. But then you also have yellow, who's really good at puzzles. So I don't know who the weakest tribe is, but I know who I think on paper is the safest of the tribe, regardless of who the weakest tribe is, and that is Caroline. I think she's really solid. I don't see a world where it flips on Caroline.
I mean, listen, man, I'm going to tell you that my number 2 is pretty similar for that exact same reason, but it is not Caroline. She's actually my number 3. Okay. My number 2 is Rachel. And that is simply because Sam and Annika are going at it. Sierra is like all about, I don't know where I land in this. Everyone's looking at Sierra. Andy was sort of like his own little thing off to the side. Rachel is just sitting there like,
Yeah.
I can vote wherever I want. And that's the truth, right? Nobody is looking at Rachel as this like, oh, we got to be careful about Rachel. They're all she is the perfect person for Annika to go to. She's the perfect person for Sam or Sierra to go to. She's the perfect person for Andy to go to. Because as far as all of them know, she doesn't really care. She's got no real allegiance to anyone.
Right.
She can go wherever she wants. And I just don't see, again, unless it's in like this ultimate like she's been screwed sort of scenario, I don't see a world where Rachel is the target of anyone sitting there. And Caroline is the exact same thing, and that's why she's sitting at my number 3. And I'll let you do your 2 and 3. But those two girls, I mean, here's also something that I would love to see in like a merge scenario. I would love to see a Caroline and Rachel like final 2 agreement with one another. I think that would be so cool. What a good team up they would both be. They would be able to come from both sides and basically be like, yeah, let me get you some information over here. I'll grab you some information over here. Hey, why don't we like combine our factions? I think that would be such a cool thing going into a merge scenario or even a swap for them to find each other, especially considering the fact that everyone is very clearly thinking of Sue and Caroline as a duo on blue. So for her to kind of create something on the side and still have all that information, I think Caroline is dangerous, man.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that's why I have her number 1. Carly says, yeah, Caroline. Yeah, Carly, I have her number 1 this week. I've really come full circle.
Shout out Michael Grossman.
Listen, I thought she was going to be weak going in, like kind of an outsider because she's very smart. But I think she got the right tribe in the fact that like TK was a huge personality. Sue is a big personality. Kyle and Sue have beef. Gabe's a big personality. Like I really think she lucked out in being kind of the even keeled person. And along that line, my number 2 is Sierra for that reason. I think Sierra right now holds the power. She can flip on Sam if she wants to because she's threatened by everyone else thinking they're in a showmance, or she can just stick with Andy and Sam. I mean, Andy gave her the shot in the dark. When you're giving people the shot in the dark, they're usually calling the shots. Look at Shan. I mean, I don't know if anyone gave her the shot in the dark, but like everyone on Uwa Tribe was going to Shan. Shan was the kingpin. I think episode 2, I would have said that was Sam. I think it's Sierra. I think Sierra is the one who clearly has the girls on one side, the guys on the other. And it's, do I want to go with the guys because they have the idol and they have the power, or do I want to flip on the guys and go with the girls? I think she has that luxury. So I have her at number 2. And then number 3, just because I think he's gonna get the idol play on him, I put Andy. What a big turnaround for him.
He's my number 4 for that exact same reason.
I just don't think he's the one going home on that tribe. I think Annika's the likely boot on that tribe, and if not, if there's a big blindside, it's gonna be Sam. And I think next to Rachel and Sierra, I think Andy's a little safer than Rachel, only because Rachel is tied to Annika. But like, Andy's fine. Andy's chilling. So I'm happy.
I have him at number 4 for that literal exact same reason. He went from like the obvious first boot to he has somehow reintegrated himself and become invisible. And to be honest, that's so impressive. I know he didn't really do any work himself to achieve it. I know he like sort of like calmed down and like reintegrated and started building trust with people. But like the truth of the matter is he could have easily just like they could still easily get rid of him if they really, really wanted to. But I don't think they're thinking about it because Annika and Sam's blunders have become so much more over the top than anything Andy did on day 1. And they're moving so much further into the game that if they're at another tribal, I don't see a world where they don't have some sort of outward confrontation with one another. And Andy's not a part of it. Andy's just there. So very interesting.
Yeah, I like Andy a lot. My 4 and 5, I did put Teeny and Keyshawn here. I'm after talking about it, I'm a little more worried.
Crazy. They're my 5 and my 6, Dylan.
Okay. I was worried I had him a little high just because like the power shifts, it has me a little worried. But I do think, and Carly brought up a good point. The editing, despite Teeny not voting out Asia, it was all Teeny's perspective. We were getting Teeny's like narration of the move, and I think they are setting her up for the long haul. I just don't see where Teeny is our 4th boot of the season, given the content they've been getting. But I do think the winner prospects, I think they might have a tougher winner situation because they might just be playing too consistently strong early on, where they could get like almost like Evie and Tiffany were in 41, just like cut early merge because they are running stuff. But I still think Teeny and Keyshawn are good now. Keyshawn is in Teeny's back pocket. Yes, Rome has a steal a vote and he has Genevieve, so Rome technically does have the majority, but I really still think they're going for Saul. They're not going to go for Keyshawn or Teeny. I think
Yeah.
Keyshawn's a little less safe than Teeny, but it seems like those two are a duo that we're meant to watch out for. I think we were looking at Sam and Sierra as like that duo until this week, where Annika's like, they think you're a couple, and I think now the duo of the season is really going to be Teeny and Keyshawn. So I have Teeny 4, Keyshawn at 5. You had Keyshawn at 6, right? And Teeny
I
at 5.
have Keyshawn. No, I have Keyshawn at 5 and Teeny at 6
Oh,
because
you
I
have
just
Keyshawn above Teeny. Okay.
only because I worry that if they're trying to find anyone to like pin the brains on, Teeny really is the brains of that duo, and Keyshawn is more of like the face of it. So I think that there'll be less if they sniff it out. Then Teeny's probably more likely to go if they're trying to figure something out. But I do think that like I disagree with you. Like I don't think this is where either of them go now. They have a lot. Like they've got it's the Shannon, the Ricard, it's the Jesse and the Cody. Like they've got a lot of time left with one another. I think it's just going to come down to like, are they going to turn on each other? Are they going to each pick a side? I still feel good about my Teeny winner pick.
Yeah.
Mainly just because it's a little too early to tell anything right now. But I do think at the end of the day, one of the things that she does need to pick up on is the fact that it's time to slow down. She's got to slow down. And if she slows down, then things will be okay.
Yeah.
But if she doesn't, I mean, like she's in trouble if she gets too far into this.
Yeah. So at the 6th spot, I put Genevieve. I think this is also a big glow up for her. I think honestly at this point, like they're gonna go for Rome, and Rome would need to find another idol and be like, "This is my idol," for them to be like, "All right, we're gonna go Genevieve." And even then, Rome has a steal a vote, so I think Genevieve is gonna land in the majority wherever. I think for someone to go home pre-merge now, especially in the last few seasons, I think we've been seeing they have some content. I think the people who get like 0 confessionals this early are probably like around your mid-merge phase, maybe a little later. I feel like Genevieve, if she was going to be the 4th boot, we would get a lot more of her in these first 3 episodes. I mean, look at Asia. We got so much from her in the first 2 episodes because she was going to be the 3rd boot. I mean, look at John. He has a huge premiere. And then TK also has a lot of presence. So I feel like it started like 45. It seemed like they were under editing a lot of the pre-merge. Like Sifu was getting nothing, Brando was getting nothing. But last season, it feels like if they were going pre-merge, they were going to be a big character like Gem. So I'm thinking Genevieve is okay because of the edit and because she's in a good spot. She actually things went in her favor. It was supposed to be a split vote, and she ended up defying the odds there. And Michael Grossman's now in the chat. He's finally here. Says, "Oh my God, go Genevieve!" Yeah,
Michael Grossman.
Genevieve's my number 6, and then I'll just say my number 7 because you said her earlier, which is Rachel. I think Rachel is Annika's right-hand man, but like I would never see a world where they're like, let's get out Rachel in case Annika has something, because Sam has something. They all know Sam has something. So they're not going to be like, oh, let's go for Rachel and split the vote. Like, I don't think they would ever go for Rachel unless they didn't know who had the idol and they were going to try to weaken Annika. I think right now, Annika's the safe boot there. I think Rachel's okay.
At number 7, I have Gabe. He falls just kind of like right above the cut line, and only because, again, he's getting a lot, but I still feel like there's so much more Gabe left. Like he seems to me, I think you called him like the Russell Hantz of everything, right? Where like he's doing these, he that's what he wants, right? But I think that they're going to. I don't think we've yet seen Gabe's big blunders. Like we're starting to see kind of like how his game is. He's making good choices, or sorry, he's not making good choices. He's making choices that benefit his game. Probably long term, but only if everything that plays out up until that point goes exactly. I mean, like, the fact that Kyle going to Sue and Caroline and being like, hey, just so you know, Gabe wants to carry you as goats, didn't turn them off to Gabe, and instead was like, oh, pretty good. Like, like that going right for Gabe, I feel like is more than enough of a tell of like, okay, he's still got a lot more left. Because if they were already not, like, if they're still willing to be like, you know what, we'll keep Gabe around a little bit. He wants to bring us to the end. We're going to outsmart him. I just feel like he is going to have a turn in this season where he thinks he's fully in control. He's got everything. He's got his strings. And in reality, it's like Sue or Caroline standing there like, hey.
Yeah. No, and I think the reason why I have him a little lower, but I have him in my top half because Sue was very quick to be like defending Gabe and be like, no, F you, Kyle. I don't forget. And it's like, if Gabe was really a bad player, a social player, then I think like there would be a world where Sue and Caroline are like, wow, he thinks we're goats. F him. But really, if I'm Caroline Sue, I'm like, he thinks we're goats. Okay. It's the Sandra strategy of like, all right, you want to take me to the end? Take me to the end. Anyone but me. Fine. And then at the end, you'll be like, well, hey, that was my strategy.
Right.
But I think Gabe is safe as well. I actually have Gabe at 9, so very close
Okay.
there. At 8, I actually, this is crazy because Gabe threw her name out, but I have Tiana, and that's probably very high just because she is
Yeah.
on the outs. But the thing is, again, I'm reading into the edit, and would you really give someone 0 confessionals the week before they were going home in the new era? Probably
I,
not. The
I
fact that
guess
she
not.
got 0 confessionals, the fact that she got 0 confessionals makes me think she's safe. And because even though Gabe started the conversation by saying he wanted Tiana out, it immediately shifted to Sue versus Kyle. It was
Right.
not Tiana. So I think next to Caroline, Tiana's probably the next safest on that tribe, just because Sue, Kyle, and Gabe have had their names out there more than Tiana has,
Yeah.
and Tiana has clearly shown that she knows how to side with the right group when the time comes. Who's your 8?
So at 8, I have Sierra, and I do agree with a lot of what you said about her. Here's my problem is that in a world where they want to kind of Annika has like this weird idea to like want to split Sam and Sierra up, and they want to play around his idol. I could see a world where she throws out Sierra as an option. Do I think that people buy into it right now? Like, probably not, but she is probably the most like widely associated with Sam. So there, and again, like if they swap into like a merger or not a merge, if they swap into like new tribes, or they're in a situation where like Sam is unavailable to be voted because he's got this idol and they just happen to like put votes on Sierra, do I think that that's what's going to happen? No. In a revote where it's like 2 on it, or no, yeah, because it would really have to get lucky and they would have to just pick Sierra. But I do see a world where it can happen. It just probably won't.
Yeah.
But I put her there just to be safe.
Cool. Who do you have
And
at 9?
then at 9, I have Sue. She, I just, there's still so much Sue. Again, sort of in like I think the Gabe, Caroline, Sue of everything is very like, they have created a narrative for us to follow. And I don't think they'd be creating this narrative for us to follow if all 3 of them didn't have a lot to offer still left in the season. So Sue for me is, again, like, I think because she's had her name written down already, she's in a tough spot. But I don't think Caroline writes her name down. I don't think Gabe's writing her name down. And then even of the people left, like I
Kyle can't write any name down.
Kyle's not writing a name down, and I think Tiana's more willing to get rid of someone like Kyle than she is to, burn Sue, because all that means is that she's on the bottom again.
Yeah, but if
and they're
Kyle
not
doesn't
gonna
have a
do anything
vote,
with her.
there's only 4 votes. Tiana
Right.
doesn't need to do anything. 3, yeah, I agree. I think the only reason I have Tiana higher than Sue is for the preview, which we'll talk about in a sec. That I'm just nervous about Matthew 2.0, where we saw that preview. We're like, is Matthew getting medevaced? Okay, we'll put him at the bottom just in case. And then we were like, oh shit, he got medevaced. Or
He fully got medevaced.
I remember that week we were so like, is Matt gonna get pulled? And we're like, nah, but like we'll put him at the bottom of the ranking just in case.
Thank God we did.
Yeah, right. 9 and 10, I'm gonna say in the same breath because they both feel like very similar players to me. At 9, I have Gabe. At 10, I have Rome, and the reason is Rome does
You're
have that
crazy, dog.
Rome has to steal a vote, and look, at a tribe of 5.
You're crazy, dude.
Look,
crazy.
Saul, Teeny, and Keyshawn are coming for Rome. Rome steals one of their votes. He has a majority of votes. I think.
Yeah, but you know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? No, you know what? I'll tell you when we get there. I'll tell you when we get there.
All right. So
Spoiler
I have
alert,
Gabe,
it'll be
I have Gabe at 9.
It'll be the last thing I talk about.
I have Gabe at 9 because of what we've said. I think he's risky, but he is clearly well ingrained in the social dynamic. The thing is, Kyle was quick to be like, Gabe's targeting you guys, but Sue was immediately like, no, F you. I'm working with Gabe. So I think Gabe actually is lucky he has Sue in his corner because I think other people would have flipped on Gabe. But Gabe and Rome, I think they're both a high variant. So like they could both be the next one gone after a big blunder, but they could also make the next big power move.
Yes.
We've seen both of them play their idols. So like, who's to say? Who's your number 10, Zach?
At 10, I have Genevieve.
Okay.
I can see Genevieve just being like the spoils of Rome. Like something happens. He gets like a safety without power or something stupid like that. Like she just seems like she's going to be Rome's collateral damage. And again, she really sits like, I know she's not smack dab in the middle for me, but I still think she has a better shot at staying over Soul or over Rome, because between the two of them, I just don't see a world where, they decide that Genevieve is the right call when Rome is sitting right there and Soul could potentially be so bitter.
And they're fighting in the trailer. Saul
right.
and Rome are going at each other. So like, I think there's a world where they're just like, all right, pick one, Right. But Rome has that seal vote, and Genevieve's on the right side there. So I think Genevieve's safe. I think you're right. Who's your 11?
At 11, I have Tiana. Again,
Yeah.
don't necessarily think she is in any danger herself. But again, Gabe likes doing weird things, and I could see a world where Gabe is like, "Hey, let's split on Tiana."
I mean, he
And then
already
we'll do
did. Yeah.
but that's what I
He
mean,
tried.
right? Like he could do that
Yeah.
because that's who he is. Like that's what he does. And I think he's more willing to get rid of Tiana and keep Kyle as like thinking he has him in his back pocket over just but if Sue and Caroline are like, no, we're gonna do Kyle, then
Yeah.
he's gonna cave.
Yeah.
Tiana is really there, and then Kyle sits above her or below her at 12 for me because I do think that Kyle, if they lose, that is who's going. I have him there a little higher than the others who I have, mainly at the bottom, mainly because I'm taking the risk in saying that there's more Kyle. I'm
Yeah.
taking the risk in saying there's
I
more
mean,
Kyle.
I hope so because I really like Kyle. That's the thing is he was such a focus on the episode, and I love him, and they made him really likable. But he
Yeah.
did not play well at all. Like he as soon as you
Oh,
lose your vote, you should just risk it again. If you're on the bottom, just risk it again. Worst that can
right.
happen is that you have 2 lost votes. You're gone the next tribal. Who cares if you have a vote or next
Yeah, you
tribal
don't
because you're
care.
not there next tribal. But if you risk it like for an advantage, you might get an advantage, and then you could turn the tide,
Right.
and then you're in power. So I think at that point, if you lose your vote, you go again, no matter what.
Yeah.
Uh, where am I
You're
at?
11.
11. I have Sam here. I have Sam low, but here's
No,
the thing.
that's so low.
But he was my number 1 last week, but I think, right? He was my number 1. Let me check.
I don't remember. I
Did
think
I have him
so.
at number
No.
1?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Okay, yeah, I did. So now you have him at number 1. I have him at 11 only because I just that whole "are you dating" thing has me nervous because like if I were hearing that someone thought me and my ally were together as in a relationship, I'd be like, all right, I'm cutting that off. I'm getting them out. Like I can't risk that. But again, he is shown so positively in the edit that like I don't think he's going anywhere. But there is that danger. So I think next to Annika, who's the easy boot, I think Sam's the next more obvious boot because I think Rachel, Sierra, and Andy aren't going anywhere. So like
Crazy, dude.
I
I think
know.
it's
Well,
crazy to
listen,
have
and,
her
and,
that
and
low.
it's the power shifts of it
Have
all.
them
It's
that
the
low.
fact that Asia, it's
Yeah.
the fact that Asia could be high on our list and go home next. It's like that
True.
mentality of like who the safest people are really not the safest, which is why at 12 I have Sue because I think she was in
Yeah.
a great position. She is in a great position. The only problem is I think Kyle and her beefing, and the preview shows a lot of blood, and it's saying what happened, Sue, and there's just a splatters of blood. And
Right.
my worry is if there's a medevac, I don't want to have her too high up. But I don't think it's a medevac. I think it's a twist. I think it's going to be you have to like find the idol in this like pool of red and like come up with an excuse as to why you're bloody and like
Right.
we'll give you the idol. Like I think it's a twist. Otherwise, why would they put it in the trailer if she's gonna get medevac for bleeding out? Like that's crazy.
That's
So
true.
but I have Sue low because I think the bottom 3 are so definitive that like if anything crazy is going to happen, it's going to be to one of the big players like Gabe, Rome, Sam, or Sue, which is why I have them
Yeah.
toward the bottom. But I think the bottom 3 for me is definitive. We have 2 of the same 3 bottom.
I'm trying to figure out who
So,
you have at the bottom that I don't.
um, you go ahead with your 13 then, and we'll figure it out. The only
I don't
difference is that
remember.
I have Rome higher. You have Rome in the bottom. I have
Oh, maybe that's what it
yeah,
is.
because I put 1 from each tribe. I think Saul, Annika, and Kyle are in the most danger. So you agree? You think
Oh,
Annika?
it's Kyle. Kyle, yes.
Yeah, you
For
just
me,
said
it's
Kyle. So
at
you
13.
have him
I
at the
have
bottom.
Soul. At 13, I have Soul.
Okay.
And it's just because I do think that based on this power struggle sort of or power dynamic sort of thing, I think Soul would be the obvious choice considering Rome's everything going on, but I feel like that's just a little too easy. I feel like that's just a tiny bit too obvious.
Okay.
So I put Soul at 13 because I feel like there is an opportunity for Teeny and Keyshawn to make a move and try and really like truly outsmart Rome and get him to either like not play his extra vote or play his extra vote and split it on somebody. And so he does one person, one on another, and then Genevieve goes with him on one, and then Keyshawn and Teeny dogpile on Rome, and then it's a revote, and they have the power in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be that's why Saul for me. I think that they are gonna want to get rid of Rome. They want him out. So I'll be shocked if he survives over Saul in other rounds.
Yeah. So at 13, just because I think they're the strongest tribe, I do have Annika, but I do think if Yellow goes, she's the easy vote, just because like it makes most sense. Sam, Sierra, Andy vote Annika. You're blindsiding Rachel, but even then, I think Rachel would maybe join the. I think they'd be able to get one on her. Also, Annika doesn't have a vote. She also lost her vote, which we haven't talked about yet. But like, I just don't see much room for Annika unless Sierra was to be like, we need to flip it on Sam. But even then, I'm realizing now I don't think she has that number either way because she has Rachel, but Andy has Sam.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. But I think Annika's
All gonna depend.
looking like she's in danger if they go to tribal, but I hope they're the safest. She's on my fantasy team, so I hope she's okay. At 14 is where I have Saul. I think if Red goes, I think it is Saul just because he is on the outs and we clearly see Rome has a steal a vote. He can make something happen with it. Teeny and Keyshawn worked with Rome and Genevieve last vote. It could be very easy to just work with them again. So I'm putting the safe bet, but I honestly think Saul might find an idol. I just have a good gut instinct it might happen. So
That'd be cool.
I would love to see it happen. Who's your 14? It sounds like you have Rome at 15.
Yeah, 14 is Annika. All the same things. It doesn't really. I don't need anything new. She confuses me. I don't really understand. I feel like sometimes I'm like, wow, she's playing really well. And then other times I'm like, what are you doing? Which isn't unlike how I feel about Rome. My 15. Rome, what are you doing? Tell me what your thoughts are, what your process. I just feel like, to be honest, they have been setting Rome up in this. Kind of. I feel like they've been setting up Rome to be this very cocky, over the top, like thinks he's in control, and they've been doing that over the last. It's just he's been the focal point of that Red Tribe every episode, and
it's like Bruce. It's Bruce 2.0.
The further we get in, but like Bruce, at least Bruce was like important because he also was coming from a different season. Rome is brand new, so there's not a lot to focus on outside of the fact that like how he thinks he's playing his game. So I do think what I am foretelling in my psychic powers is that Rome's cockiness is going to get the better of him. He's going to try and outsmart them. They think he's going to dogpile onto someone with his votes, but he's going to split it, and then Teeny and Keyshawn are going to outsmart him, and they're on a revote. They're going to send him out. And I think that that's just going to be how it goes.
Nice. Hey, I mean, I would love to see it for the drama. I have Kyle at the bottom only because he lost his vote on a position where he was on the outs because of his own doing. When he was on the outs and Gabe said, come in, let's go Tiana, he said nope and went to Sue and Caroline. I just think he misplayed everything. I like Kyle a lot. I hope Kyle's around, but I think it was just such bad gameplay where I think Saul can recover. I think there's a way Saul can bounce back.
Yes.
I think there's a way Annika can bounce back too. She is very savvy. I disagree a bit. I don't think she's playing bad. I just think Sam doesn't like her for whatever reason, and Sam's calling the shots. Like I think Annika's.
Yes.
I think the problem is she's playing well, which is why like John looked at her, which is why Sam's looking at her. I think because she is doing well. I mean, she's the one providing at camp. You would not think that Annika, of all people, would be the kind of person calling the shots in terms of shelter making and all that. And I also think Sam doesn't like that she talks down to him, but she needs to because she's like, listen, this is what we need to do for the shelter. Right. And I don't think Sam likes it. So poor Sam. He's so low on Dylan's list. Listen, I would like to be wrong. I like Sam a lot. I think Sam is one of my favorites on the season, but I'm just trying to be realistic. I think this is going to be a season where we're going to get a weird winner. I don't think it's going to be the biggest characters of the season. Like, I don't think it's going to be Rome or Gabe or Sam. But I also don't think it's going to be like a really like powerhouse player either, like Teeny. Like, I think we're going to get a really like random, not Gabler-esque win, but like I could see a world where like at the end it's like Andy won or Genevieve won, right. You know, like something random where everyone's like, oh, weird, but cool. Unlike Gabler, which was like weird, you know. Yeah, any more thoughts on Survivor before we put this list to bed?
No, I'm excited for another episode. See what happens.
Let's quickly transition to Big Brother because we got the finale coming up Sunday.
Very exciting.
We're getting some veto / elimination. I hate that they leave it on a cliffhanger. Like, it's Final Four, and like we know who won the veto and how it was used. So like, I don't know. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on this end game? Because last time we talked, you know, I just lost T-Core after I was like, she's going to win. And you were like, Mackenzie's going to win. Then Mackenzie has what is been said by a lot of the Survivor community as the worst HOH week ever. She literally takes her closest ally, Leah, and puts her on the block because of Chelsea, who she believes is her closest ally, who's really trying to sell her out, and is basically doing a lot of Chelsea's bidding. I did actually have a conversation with Matt about this, and I think because Matt watches it without the feed, so I think Matt's getting a better perspective of like Mackenzie having a little more ownership, which is I think what the show is showing. But as we're watching on the feeds, like I think Chelsea is just making every move for her. Like literally, Chelsea wanted Leah gone, Leah's gone. Chelsea wanted Angela gone, Angela's gone. Chelsea wanted Chemo gone. Mackenzie didn't even want Chemo gone. Like I think that's the thing is like there were so many weird shifts. what do you think of this end game? Because admittedly it has been slow since the double, but that is what happens every year.
Well,
But
and
what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
the less people we get, the lower and lower we get in numbers, the more boring it gets. So here's the thing, right? Is that I think it really is going to depend on what happens Thursday. I think it's going to depend on what we see in this final sort of this final eviction. That's your final regular style eviction before we get like
Does
our
it seem
finale.
like Mackenzie's leaning toward evicting
I
Rubina? Is what
can't
it looks like.
tell. I can't
Okay.
tell, and that's really the big thing, right? Is
I
that
think
like,
Chelsea wants Rubina out, and that's why it's going to be Rubina. I think for
well,
Mackenzie, she'd be smart to keep
but
Rubina.
Mackenzie has also sort of, and this is, I may be mistaken on what I'm reading on Twitter and seeing on the feeds. It seems like Mackenzie just doesn't want Cam around because Cam feels more like a lock for Chelsea to choose her at the end if, God forbid, Chelsea wins the final HOH than picking Mackenzie, which she's right. Like, she's 100% right about
Yeah,
that.
Chelsea would cut Mackenzie at the end.
Chelsea would cut Mackenzie and take Cam, and it would be a 9-0 or a 7-0 sweep. Like, it would be not even a question. She should win completely. It should be a massacre.
The only way I could see maybe a vote or two going to Cam would be out of bitterness. Like if Mackenzie's super bitter about it.
I don't even think so. I think that this season is so, there is not, I can't, I'm gonna be so honest. I forget Cam's there. Like that's like Rubina had chemo, and they at least their gameplay wasn't great leading into the end part of this game, but it was like they were at least trying to make things happen, right? This whole like we're getting Leah out, even though that was Chelsea's move. The only reason that it really happened is because Rubina and chemo really do want justice for T-Core, and that's a huge thing, right? Cam doesn't care who goes home.
Well,
In fact, it was a horrible move for Mackenzie, and it was a horrible move for Cam. It was horrible for the both of them.
Well, and here's the thing: Rubina goes next to Mackenzie because the whole thing was that Chelsea was planting seeds in Rubina's head for the double eviction. Like, if you or chemo win, you got to take the shot at Mackenzie because I can't. And Rubina told Mackenzie that. It was like, listen, Chelsea was trying to get you out, but the problem is Mackenzie, instead of using that information to make a big move on Chelsea, goes right to Chelsea and says, Rubina told me this. This can't be true, right? And Chelsea's like, she is off her rocker. And the truth is, she did say that to Rubina. It's just Mackenzie's being so, disillusioned by Chelsea, now, which is dominant gameplay on Chelsea's part. I give her that. I don't like her very much, but I respect it. I do. I really respect it. She's playing really well.
Now, what I am wondering, and again, like this is you don't know what goes on in people's heads, right? Because look at it this way, right? Like Cody Calafieri beats Nicole in the end, I think, regardless of the two of them being there versus him and Enzo. But Enzo's a much easier no matter what.
Yeah.
I do see a world where Mackenzie beats whoever it is, wins that fight. I mean, she's got the most dominant competition record of the season so far. I do see a world where she hangs on, and I no matter what, I think we see a Mackenzie Chelsea win final three, whether it's Rubina or Cam, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I agree.
It's going to come down to part three. We haven't really seen them go to head in a mental battle yet. We've seen
usually one's been sitting out if the other's playing.
So we've seen Chelsea win a mental battle, but we've also seen Mackenzie win a mental battle before in this game.
Yeah, BB comic,
it's gonna come down to, I think, that final part, because I think the thing is right now Chelsea probably cuts Mackenzie and takes the easy win, bar none. It doesn't really matter.
I honestly think if she were to take Mackenzie, she would still. I think this would be like an Enzo Nicole Cody thing, where like if Chelsea wins, she's Cody. She could pick whoever she wants. She's gonna win against either of them. I think it's Mackenzie who would have to make the big decision.
Now that is what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if Mackenzie, when she gets there, finally makes the decision to say, "I've taken what everyone has said to heart. I've taken what everyone has thought about. I'm cutting you off," because that's what wins Steve 17, right? Steve wins 17 because he takes out Vanessa. Chelsea's Vanessa. Vanessa wins that game easily against anyone in 17. Chelsea wins against anyone easily, which, by the way, I can't wait for you to roll the clip where I talk about how I think Chelsea is a good player and I think she's going to be a threat. And you were like, I don't know, she's a super fan. Can't wait for you to roll that clip.
I don't have it on hand if you're asking me to
Oh
recommend.
yeah.
I don't have them.
I know you don't have it right now. You will at the
I
end of
have
the
the
season
Taylor
if
clip
Chelsea
if you want me to
wins.
play
You
it.
will no, I don't want you to play that one. I want you to play the Chelsea
Mackenzie.
one later on in the season when she wins.
But we
But
both picked Rubina. Like, here's what we should be rooting for. We should be rooting for Mackenzie to make the smart move. Because here's the thing. Rubina wants a girls thing. Cam wants Chelsea. So the thing is, if Mackenzie gets out Cam, if Rubina wins that last HOH somehow, I don't know how she would, but like if she does, there's a world. I still think Rubina would choose Chelsea because she's like closer with Chelsea. But I think there's a
oh
world where
god,
she could
that would
take
be
out.
so stupid.
I think she could take out Chelsea, and then if Rubina takes out Chelsea and it's Rubina and Mackenzie at the end. Let's say Rubina gets through this week, which I don't think she will, but let's say she does. Do you think there's a world Rubina could beat Mackenzie for taking out Chelsea? Because if Mackenzie takes out Chelsea, Mackenzie probably wins. If Rubina takes out
If,
Chelsea, do you think it happens?
if Rubina takes out Chelsea, I think anyone who takes out Chelsea automatically has the merit. And also, T-Core, Chemo, definitely voting for Rubina. Um, Leah
Angela?
probably Leah and Angela, I think, probably vote for Rubina
Over Mackenzie, yeah.
because she didn't screw her over. They got Mackenzie to do
Yeah.
their bidding.
Yeah, I think in that case, Mackenzie would get Cam and Chelsea's votes and maybe Quinn's.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Is that Quinn is not thrilled about the bracelet, which then it becomes a problem. But now she has majority, so it doesn't even matter, right? Like
Well,
I
and
can
I could see
see,
Quinn voting how Leah votes too. If Leah's like, no, but Rubina's had such a good social game. Like, I could see a world
yeah,
where Quinn's swayed by his other head. But I do think, yeah, I really don't know. I think the most clear cut is Chelsea and Cam. Chelsea wins. I
listen,
think the
Chelsea.
next most clear cut is Chelsea Rubina. Chelsea wins. The
I mean,
question
listen,
is Rubina Mackenzie and then Rubina, and then
listen. Here's
Cam.
the biggest thing for me at the end, regardless of anything that happens. Chelsea played one of the best games of Big Brother I've seen in
Yeah,
a very
I
long
agree.
time.
She also broke the
Crazy.
record for if she wins this last HOH, she'll break the record for women HOHs. I think Mackenzie has more comps because of the AI arena and vetoes, but
Right.
Chelsea will have the most HOHs for women. She's tied right now, I believe. So
But
that's huge.
what I love about the potential, if Cam goes home, it'll be the perfect final three because what'll be awesome is that at some point or another, all three of these women have been on the block, trying to go home, and they all won the AI arena. They all won it in order to stay, which is awesome and that's just more of a reason why you keep the AI arena, make it something different every year.
It's
Three
called the
nominees.
BB Arena. Call it the BB Arena. Duh.
Literally,
You know?
it's the perfect element to add to the game because it puts everyone on an equal playing field at one point to save your own game, and it changes the game, right? Because if Rubina goes home, there's no Chemo T-Core and Rubina, and that was one of the driving forces behind getting T-Core out. And the T-Core vote changes the game completely because T-Core going out leads to Leah going out, and Leah going out leads to Angela going out, and that is when everything starts freaking just like dominoing. And it's why I am thrilled. I think the most satisfying win for me personally would be to watch Mackenzie win, just because I've been so high on Mackenzie, like going from the bottom to the absolute like top of the top, sort of in like a Taylor Hale fashion, where she was like so on the bottom that all of a sudden to be on the top. However, what would be awesome to watch, like from an us standpoint, would be awesome to watch is Rubina winning because we predicted it.
I think I want that because of our prediction. Because if I were to go 3 in a row with winner predictions, like I'd be gooped and gagged, as Kelsey says. But I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think
but to watch Chelsea win would be awesome because to watch not only a super fan of the game win, but a dominant super fan. I just like, in my opinion, there's no one that Chelsea can get there in the end with and not beat right now, which is the only way. And this does happen. The only way you don't get there, I mean, like, look at Paul, right? There was no reason that Paul shouldn't have won 19. But when you're unable to own things, and I think Chelsea's ready to own everything. Like, I think she's probably got
ready. Chelsea's got the bus ready with Mackenzie's face on the either end to run over. Like, I think that's why Mackenzie's play has been so poor the last few weeks, is because obviously she doesn't see what we see. But like, you have to realize when every single person is kind of like revolving around Chelsea said this, Chelsea said that, Chelsea said this. At what point do you say, you know what? Chelsea's in a lot of people's ears. Maybe she's not my best interest to keep around. And like, I think Mackenzie's good for Chelsea's game, but I don't think Chelsea's good for Mackenzie's game. Because if Mackenzie makes the big move and gets out Chelsea this week or last week when she could have with chemo. The problem is I don't know when she could have. Honestly, Leah should have done it a few weeks ago when she got out
Right.
T-Core. I think the biggest mistake for Leah was she went after the wrong trio. As she said, she
Right.
quickly realized she's like, I should have gone after the other trio because the other trio can win comps. T-Core, chemo, and Rubina can't. We could get them out at any time. I think that was the biggest blunder. But then even after that, Mackenzie had the opportunity to have Leah in her back pocket. And even if it didn't mean getting out Chelsea, even if it meant getting out chemo or Rubina, you have then Leah fighting with you, and you have Angela fighting with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge too, because then that's 3 people. Plus, Cam would probably still work with you, and Chelsea would still probably work with you. All you have to do is then get out the other member of the other trio. I don't know. I think Mackenzie went from, I agree, bottom to top, but I think now she's playing a very Cody to Derek game. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Not Cody All Stars, but Cody 16, where it's like she's playing. She clearly has all the tools to take out her biggest competition. She just isn't, and it's very frustrating. And she's at least not entertaining the idea of it either. Like I think she genuinely is like, I'm going to go through the end with the best player, and it's like, ugh, I hate that mentality.
Gotta
I
stop
hate
going
it
to the
so
end with
much.
the best players.
It makes no sense unless you
Go to the
all
end with
did the
goats and
same
win.
moves. Like, and if it's a way to flatter your opponent, fine. Or if it's your daughter, like Dick and Danielle, but otherwise, like, don't pick the best opponent. Pick the easiest beat. Do it. Why would you ever get out Angela in the double? She is the easiest beat, and I think she's not an easy beat, but they should think she's an easy beat because she doesn't.
Right.
Kiko and Quinn don't like her, so why would you waste a double getting her out when Chelsea's right there? Well, actually, Chelsea won the HOH, but Chelsea should have taken out Mackenzie there. But I don't know. I don't know. Chelsea's doing great. I agree. She's playing a great game. I'm
Yeah.
very, very happy just to watch a strategist at this level because Taylor was a great winner, but it was a very like underdog,
Yeah.
story. She didn't dominate the strategy of that season. This is the first time we've had a female dominant strategic game since probably Nicole, but even then, I don't think Nicole dominated strategy. I think it was her and Corey, and to an extent, like Paul. But yeah, like this is a cool game. So I hope just for the sake of the game that she wins. But I don't know. Are you still rooting for Mackenzie?
I mean, honestly, I'm rooting for any of them. I like all of them. I think Chelsea's gameplay is amazing. I think Mackenzie's story is amazing. I think Rubina's being our winner pick would be amazing.
She's
Like,
really nice. Like she's very social, and I do give her props. She went to
and,
the right alliances. She made the
and
social
in a
moves.
world where she is not immediately aligned with Tucker as a firm duo, I think her gameplay is different. But based on that fact, I think that pigeonholed her so early on in the game, and it kind of put her right behind T-Core and Chemo rather than up front where she really needed to be, in order to like make big moves and be seen as the big player. But
Mhm.
what are you gonna do? You know what? Like you can't. You have to choose a side. And honestly, if Tucker isn't immediately seen as a threat, I think they run the game. And
Um,
she cuts him probably. I think she does make a choice to cut him at the end, but I don't know. We'll never see it.
yeah. So last 3 questions. First one's very easy. If you had to just predict the winner right now, who you
Chelsea,
predict? Chelsea.
Chelsea.
I agree. I agree. If you had to, um, okay. Another question: should we abolish the tiebreaker? Can't go over rule
Oh,
because look at those
yeah.
numbers. If we're going at who is closest to the number, Angela wins that double eviction HOH.
Right.
But she goes over by 5,000. Chelsea is under by
Yeah, I
like
mean that's Price is
900.
Right rules. I think that's what's hard is that like
If they abolish it, I think the game is that much more interesting because Angela did the right
yeah,
math. She just went over 5,000. She said 15,000 instead of 10,000. Chelsea left off a whole zero. She was in 3 digits,
yeah,
but because Chelsea's number was smaller, I honestly think if Angela wins that HOH, this season is the best of all time. Because what Angela's going to do is Angela's probably going to take a shot at either Mackenzie or Chelsea, and
right.
even if she doesn't get that shot successfully, the other is they're gonna come after her, and it's gonna make
Yeah,
for a really hectic end game. But I think taking out your biggest character in a double eviction, along with your other most likable figure, like Leah and Angela, if I was looking at the Joker polls, they were at the top of everyone's
yeah,
likability rankings at that point because everyone had been down on Mackenzie for flipping on Leah. Leah and Angela were the fan favorites. And then we lose one, which
yeah,
sucked, but we knew we were losing Leah. Then to lose Angela when Angela was so close to HOH and she was so close. Did you notice in Veto? She was next
yeah,
behind Chemo. She was
yeah.
like, I was really upset. I think that is what kind of made me so like deflated on this season.
I don't
Do we
know.
do we abolish the tiebreaker rule?
No, I don't think so, because you know what? Like, if Angela had won in the same role, we would be thrilled, right? Like, I don't think
Yes, yeah.
I don't think it's worth getting rid of the rule just because it didn't turn out the way we wanted it to. Because again, it easily, if their numbers were just reversed, I like we would have been thrilled, right?
Yeah.
Like that's
I think the answer was like 10,800 and Chelsea wrote 1,080. So she left off a zero and Angela wrote 15,000. So Angela was so much closer. But I get it. Yeah, it keeps the
I
game exciting in that way
yeah,
because you're like, oh my God, Angela. And then you're
right.
like, ah, you know.
And here's
But
the thing, right? Like, I'm not gonna lie, like I didn't love Angela.
I
She's
know you
not my
didn't.
favorite type of player, and I love the chaos she brought, but like the beginning of the game made it really hard for me. I'm not just because like I wasn't a big fan. I feel like she was polarizing, right? Like a whole
Oh, yeah.
community loved her, but
I think she won people over the second she did the balls thing on in the yard of
for
moving.
sure,
I
for
think
sure.
that's where everyone kind of warmed up on her, and then from then on, I was like, I think everyone was on board of like
For
this is gonna be
sure.
a fun underdog story. Yeah,
Um, but I think she's gonna win AFP for sure. I think
you
it would
do.
be shocking. Yeah, I mean, like I think
Okay.
it'll probably be
Well, that
between
was my
her.
third. That was my third question. Who do you think is gonna be up for AFP? Like, who is you? Who
I
do you
think it'll
think is
be
the top?
between Leah, Angela, and probably like Tucker, if I'm
Yeah, I
being
agree.
honest.
I think that's gonna be the top three. I don't know if Angela makes top three though, because the Facebook crowd is still mad about the Matt thing.
So
But
then I think
who else is it gonna be though? Right? Like
so then I
Timo,
think we'll probably see the two of them and like
Quinn,
maybe Mackenzie. Like
maybe.
we could probably see that.
Yeah,
Um,
I
but
don't
I
think
mean,
Quinn. I
like
don't think
I
Joseph.
think we're probably looking at another pre-juror win, which I always love when we I love when the pre-jurors are
Has
still
Preacher ever won AFP though, or has it only been not like top
um
three? Because Cam was first juror, Cody Nixon was first juror.
we don't talk
Was
about that.
Davon? No, Davon
Uh,
was first juror. It's always like the first juror.
They've almost first juror.
I
Who's last
feel
season?
like
Who
last
won
season
it?
was Cameron Harden. We don't
Oh,
talk about that
that was
enough.
wrong. Sorry. Um,
Over Sari and Matt, who we don't like Matt.
that is kind of crazy that was how that went.
But I really I think it's I honestly think Tucker's our AFP. I do. I think they've done enough a job keeping him relevant
Yeah.
regardless. And if it's not Tucker, I think it's honestly Leah. I don't think it's Angela. I think Leah is the one who
Listen,
had Leah had the most heartbreaking eviction. I think people are
yeah.
really gonna feel for that and be like, damn, like Mackenzie did her dirty.
Well, and I think what's also crazy, and like people didn't even think about it. Um, I wasn't thinking about it, but like her whole post interview with where it's like, do you know what day it is? And she was like, it's the 26th. I was like,
That was crazy. That was crazy.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
crazy. I love Leah. I hope she comes back. I want to
I
see
hope
her
so too.
back.
Listen,
She's the Brittany Haynes that we've been missing. Like we haven't had a Brittany
yeah.
Haynes in a very long time, and
You're
she's
predicting Angela AFP then.
uh I'm predicting a final three of Tucker, Leah, and Angela.
That's exactly what I'm predicting too, but I'm predicting a Tucker AFP.
I kind of, you know what? I'm gonna go to the other side. I'm gonna go to Leah. I'm gonna go
Okay,
Leah
okay.
AFP.
Cool. Watch, Angela's gonna win it anyway. I think that
That's
you know what's
who.
gonna be funniest is that
That's who
if
wins my
Angela
heart.
wins it, if Angela wins it, I can't wait to watch the faces of
Oh,
Tikor and Chelsea and Cam and Mackenzie and
well,
Quinn
did you
because
see? Did you see there is one where Mackenzie literally is like, I am never playing this game if I walk out on finale night and they announce Angela as AFP, and I
I
was
think
like,
that'd be so funny. Yeah, and all the fans are like, let's do it because I think that's so stupid to be like, oh, if America likes this player, I'm never gonna play again. Like that's so
listen,
stupid.
here's the thing. Here's what I will always give to the players. They've been in that house a long time. I just saw a tweet that was like, these
They
are the
don't know that
9
Joe Biden's not
I
running.
was gonna say these are the 9 people left here to think that Joe Biden is still running in the election, which I
Oh my
was like,
god,
oh, that
that's
is kind of crazy.
crazy.
But
Like they're
they're
gonna walk
also
out
like,
the door on Sunday and find out that Joe Biden is not like that's crazy.
well, it's like, it's one of those things where like over the top, they found out Donald Trump won the night he won,
Yeah,
um,
they told them,
be-
yeah, because
because
I
they
get it. I
told
mean,
them
it's a big deal to announce who the next president is, but yeah.
right. Not a great announcement for a lot of people.
I mean,
Uh,
everyone in that house was like, "What?"
Fingers crossed that that's not what we're looking at this year.
Oh
We're
god.
politically neutral on this podcast, of course, but we are
Are we?
also
Are we?
we're also what people call intelligent.
We accept all listeners. Just be kind. Don't be hateful. That's what we
Oh,
say.
meanwhile, I'm like, we are what you'd call intelligent, because our political beliefs are pretty clear.
Yeah.
We were with
Um,
each other. We were with each other not on the last
yeah.
inauguration, but the one prior to
Which
that, and
is
it was not a great day for us.
Which is also why I also want to hear from them in the real world, because also a lot of people, I don't even know if we should talk about this now, but like a lot of people don't like Chelsea because of her politics, but it's also like one of those things like let Chelsea talk about her politics so
I'm
we can
also just
actually
like,
know. But it's also like at the same time, I mean, I voted for Cody Nixon to win AFP that year because I didn't like Paul at the time. Would I
and
do so
now,
nowadays? Probably not, but I
no,
liked the fact that Cody was a foil to Paul. So in a way,
yeah.
regardless
Listen,
of Chelsea's politics,
there's
I'm gonna
there's
root for her to win because she's the best
okay,
player.
there's gameplay, and then there's who they are in the real world. And when they're in the real world and they're actively doing things in the real world, that I'll make my opinion on them then. But as game players, like I don't know a single thing about Chelsea's politics. I am not excited to find out when this is over. But as a game player, I think that Chelsea is probably one of the like top 10 game players we've seen, definitely in the new era, but also like just overall. I mean, like, is she Dan Giesling? No. Is she Derek? Kind of close. Like,
I mean, I think
think
she's
she's closer to Derek
if
than
she
she
wins unanimously, she's top 5 conversation, I think.
easily. She has to be. And the thing is, if she's smart and she takes Cam or Rubina, I think if she takes Rubina, she's probably not a 7-0. But if she takes Cam, she's a 7-0, I think. And I don't even think it's close.
Yeah.
Mackenzie, she might not be a 7-0, depending
I
on
think
how
she will be
Mackenzie
because I think all her arguments will be dunking on Mackenzie, saying I did this for
yeah.
I played Mackenzie because Mackenzie. All she has to say is Mackenzie should not have gotten rid of Leah. That was such a dumb move, but I made sure she did.
And they
That
will be like, you're damn right.
Yeah, like I really I think I think she sweeps both. I do agree. I think Rubina's the only one who gets votes against Chelsea because of Chemo and Tikor.
Yes.
And even then, I think Tikor could vote for Chelsea. I could see Chemo still
I
voting for
just
Rubina.
I see her not getting a 0 vote because I think they'll feel bad. They won't feel bad about Mackenzie, and they will not feel bad about Cam because I think they will have the firm belief of like, you haven't done anything this whole
All right,
season.
last
You
question:
haven't done anything.
do we think Tucker proposes?
No. This is not a swaggy situation, bro. This is
Listen,
not that.
I'd be nuts. Yeah. All right, there we go. Our predictions are in for the finale. Next time we'll be talking about the finale and about
Crazy.
Survivor. Yeah, crazy man. Like it is time. It is almost that time. Anything to plug, Zach, and anything else to
I got
add?
nothing. Take your allergy medicine, everybody.
Do it.
Don't die.
Who has a
Praying
recipe
for
for reality this week, Zach? Oh
the
yeah,
rest
praying for the hurricane victims. Absolutely, yes.
Ellie
Please.
Keener, please stay safe. Um,
Oh yeah. Wait, where's Haley live?
she lives in like close to Orlando.
Oh shit. Okay, yeah. Please
She
stay
should
safe.
be okay, says Haley Keener. I
Yeah.
hope that you are.
Anyone out there, whatever you need morally support wise, like let us know. We will be there.
No, we're
Whatever we can do to spread the word and help, we will do
um,
so. But
who is the
um,
recipe for
yeah.
reality?
Who has it?
You know what, Rome? You can have it.
You put him at the bottom of your rankings, then you say,
Gotta give him
he has a recipe.
something. Gotta give
Um,
him something.
yeah. Man, who do I want to give it to? No one from Big Brother, honestly. I'm like trying to
You know what, Chelsea? It's got your name on it next week if you win.
Yeah, I'll save it for next week for her if she wins. Obviously, I mean that would be the recipe for reality. You know who's getting the recipe for reality? Actually, no, because I haven't watched tonight, so I don't know if they got eliminated on Dancing with the Stars. I'm not even gonna say it. All right.
Wait, say it.
No, I was gonna say Reginald Vell Johnson because I think he's gonna
Okay.
go home tonight. But like, I love him. But I want to go for someone from the shows we talk about. You know what? I'm gonna go with for my recipe for reality this week. I'm gonna go with Andy. I think he really did turn his game
Good
around
job,
in a way.
Andy.
I really do think there was just so much positivity this week from him. Even though he showed Sierra the shot in the dark, I think he's on the up and up. So there you go. But stay tuned, guys. We got exciting stuff coming. Whoa, in the next few weeks. Obviously, Big Brother's ending, which will give us a little bit more time to breathe. To focus on Survivor as Zach gets into his show. Is that the Coke Oreo?
Yeah, I
Is
was
it good?
gonna. It's delicious. I
Is
can't
it?
taste too much right now because I'm so congested, but
Is
it's
it
pretty
more Coke or more Oreo?
definitely more Coke.
Good. Okay. I mean, have you had the Coke Oreos?
No, I
Okay.
don't hate myself.
Okay, I've heard those are good though. I've heard that's better than soda. So the
Oh,
soda's
I
good.
like this a lot more.
And is it
'Cause
Coke Zero?
it's 0 calories.
Is there any regular Coke or is it just the Coke Zero, I think,
It's a
right?
Coke Zero, but it tastes good.
Nice. Okay. Well, I'll have to check that out. Thank you guys so much for watching. StreamYard, thank you. You've made it automatic now. That the outro plays automatically when I press end stream. So we're gonna try it
So
now.
good.
Bye.